Everything that comes from the heart leads to knowledge. Knowledge expresses itself in Baseerah. Baseerah is to be able to see everything in the world that emerges in front of you. From Baseerah, the bigger is the Baseerah, the more you can have access to it. The greater it is, the better. When it becomes small, your life becomes like living in 4 square centimeters. And this reduced world in which most people live is unbearable, in where any tiny little change becomes a gigantic storm. The famous, "I'm a storm in a cup of tea." The smaller the cup, the bigger the storm. And that's where most people live. We are going to create those conditions, give you the tools in order to move from this tiny little cup of tea into a larger one. This will be by stimulating the heart, the first condition of which is to recognize the heart. And the first condition of recognizing the heart is to distinguish it from reason and from emotions. If reason comes from the mind, the emotions come from the guts. And everything that we're doing, it comes from the heart. And that heart not only has a capacity to expand your nearness, to bring you near to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but together with that, with bringing yourself closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it opens up knowledge of yourself. Knowledge of yourself equals knowledge of Allah. You have heard this expression in the past, which means it will affect everything that you do. Every aspect of your life will be determined by these changes that take place in your heart, to the point that you can say this knowledge of the heart is a knowledge of life itself, which is where we are heading. I want to show you that the result of expansion of the heart and moving towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is knowledge. And we need to say this thing at a time when Tasawwuf has become weekend clubs, singing clubs. So you go into the weekend, you do this glorious singing, you have an emotional high in some places, and then you carry on business as usual. Neither the sheikh, not the group, brings about the necessity to transform your life alongside with what you have supposedly learned during the dhikr. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, la ilaha illallah, continuous praises of Allah as the beloved and La ilaha illallah, all that kind of poetry that comes in the tradition of Sufism, but now sung without knowledge. This is so common that I dare not to give you a percentage, because I can bear to say it, because it hurts me more than it hurts them, obviously, who don't care, because they are using tasawwuf in order to do something which is horrible, horrible. It's like somebody trying to look at a book and they only look at the covers, and they praise the covers, but they've never read the book. It's almost the same. And rather than that, the dhikr that we are going to speak about is labor of the heart. But you can see how this introduction is necessary, because the thing I have to say is quite simple, because the matter is not complicated. Because what I have to say is, call Allah with your heart in an act of love. Abandon yourself into the love of Allah, like you abandon yourself into the arms of the beloved. You abandon, you let everything go and just love. Nothing more. That's all there is. And the task of the sheikh is nothing but to say more, love more, keep going. which was the favorite sentence of my sheikh. Keep going, and keep going. Nothing else.